Welcome once again to Freedom Zone Worship Center, where God is the head. It's a privilege and an honor for us to be here once again, and we thank God for all that are present and all that are tuning in. We ask God to continue to look over us and protect us this day, this hour, and that His face would continue to shine upon us. Thank God for all that He has done and all that He's doing and all that He shall do. So again, welcome to Freedom Zone Worship Center. So glad to have you be a part of the service. Again, all that are present and all that are tuning in. It's just a privilege and an honor. Sometimes just to take the time to think about the fact that you're alive. As many cemeteries as we drive by, and I don't see any that's empty. I don't see any that's diminishing in size. They're all increasing. So it's an honor and a privilege, to be kept and protected and to be alive, and we should cherish life. We should cherish life because it's a blessing from God. Again, we thank God for this day and thank God for all that He has done, is doing, and shall do. We're going to be talking today from the subject, This is My Journey. This is my journey. Say to yourself, this is my journey.
This is my journey.
Because it is just that. It's your journey, not somebody else's journey, but your journey. And sometimes there's no need of sitting back waiting rather for a better journey, a better life. Heaven will be here soon enough. We'll be gone soon enough, but we have a journey that we're partaking in right now. This is my journey. See, and a journey takes some time. Takes some time. And in the biblical days, when they journeyed somewhere, it really took some time because they were on a donkey or a chariot. But today we're talking about the journey that you're on in this life. When I journey, or when I go back home, I take different routes. I can go through Atlanta, I can go down through Macon, different journeys, but I get to the same destination. And never know what you're gonna encounter on the road, and could be an accident or road closure, or I've been traveling before and actually seen funnel clouds and tornadoes, and you have to detour and navigate through in spite of what may be dished your way. And in this journey of life, we've had to navigate some things. And we're going to take someone and look at their lives, but it's about your journey. It's about your journey, and about the fact that we need to concentrate on our journey and fulfill what we are put here to fulfill. It's pretty easy to look at somebody else, and even like I was talking about as far as me going home and the route I take, many times you tell somebody to go somewhere, or somebody say they're going somewhere, and we start trying to give them advice. You ought to go this way. This is because that's the route we went, So I would go here to this spot and turn and take that road, and they may decide to take a different route. Their GPS may lead them on a different route. I know what works best for me, and when I drive, when I go somewhere I'm familiar going, but other people may take different routes to get there. Just like in the city you live in, if you're going to, say Walmart, because everybody knows I have a Walmart somewhere by, but if the mall or whatever, you know what route you normally take, but that doesn't mean that's the only route to get to that particular spot. And you tell somebody else, they're going and they didn't take the way you went. And sometimes we'll dispute with people that no, that was the route I take is the best route. Meaning the way I do it is what's best for everybody. But we're all on a journey, and there's different obstacles on our way. And the thing is that we have to realize is that when we look back at our parents and our foreparents, and different journeys was taken, but God protected. And we have to look at our own lives, that we didn't go the same route Mama and Daddy did sometimes, but God protected us. That God protected us. So it's believing and trusting God that He knows how to protect each one of us as we travel on this journey. And then the fact of it is, is that everybody, the Bible talks about as far as it's God's will that none perish. Choose you this day. Everybody's not going to make the choices you make. Some family members everybody don't want to go to heaven. Well, they don't want to do what it takes to go to heaven. But everybody ain't wanting to serve God because we serve God. Some people are enjoying what they're doing. That's their journey. And I tell people that the fact that as a Christian, we're on a journey, but one wonderful, glorious things about us as Christians on this journey is that this is as close to hell as we get. As we travel on this journey, and life gets hard sometimes, but just be reminded, this is as close to hell as you will ever get as a Christian. As you on this journey, it may heat up sometime, but it's still this is as close to hell as you will ever get as a Christian. And as an unchristian, and like I said, people have the right to choose their journey. This is as close to heaven as you get. So, and I say, because many times we get bent out of shape, and we go on and on wanting people to take the same journey we take, or the same route we take. But the truth of it is, they don't have to. Even if a person chooses that they don't want to follow the Lord, that's their choice. They choose that journey. We want to start out at Exodus, the 2nd chapter. And we're talking about this is my journey. And that's personal. This is my journey. This is my journey. You can't live your life completely according to what somebody else wants, other than God. And we can't expect other people. Sometimes we just overburden people trying to make mimics of ourselves. But your journey, your experience make you who you are. And many times that's an issue, even when it comes to nowadays and racial stuff, and that people can't get it because it's hard to be in somebody else's shoes. You can, and especially if you don't take the time to try to understand them, and it's like I don't have to go through the same thing you went through to feel the pain, because pain is pain. But I have to recognize that even though it's something that may not hurt me, if you say it's hurting you, then that's a part of your journey. And I need to respect that. Exodus, the 2nd chapter is where we're going to begin. Exodus 2, 1 through 10. And we're going to talk about Moses, but there's so many more we could talk about. But I really want you to know that this is my journey. This is my journey. This is my journey. We need to remind yourself of that. When this life ends, and they put you in your resting spot down here on the earth, it won't have your name and somebody else's name. It won't have your date and somebody else's date. It's you. It's me. This is my journey. I can say this is our journey, but collectively we're coming together. But all of us need to realize that we are on a journey, and it's your journey. It's your journey, and we should take the Lord with us. But even the ones that don't take the Lord with them is still on a journey. This is my journey. It's just so much here. Your height is your height. Your weight is your weight. Your color is your color. So to be unsatisfied and trying to be like somebody else your whole life is a wasted journey of life. This is my journey. Exodus 2, 2nd chapter, beginning at the 1st verse. And it says, and a man of the house of Levi went and took as wife a daughter of Levi. So the woman conceived and bore a son. And when he saw that when she saw that he was a beautiful child, she hid him 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she took an ark of bulrushes for him, dubbed it with asphalt and pitch, put the child in it, and laid it in the reeds by the river's bank. Now, this is my journey. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, for everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under the heavens. That's Ecclesiastes 3 Verse 1, for everything there's a season, a purpose, for everything, a purpose under heaven. And that second verse says, a time to be born. A time to be born. It wasn't by coincidence when you were born. It wasn't by coincidence. It wasn't by coincidence that nobody we know was born. I don't care if it was a result of a horrific rather situation. There was no accidental births. If you're here, you were meant to be here. A time to be born. Moses had a time to be born. He was born a Hebrew. And his mother saw he was beautiful and put him in there and sent him down the river. The fifth verse. Then the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river. Well, I think I skipped a little there. But she put the child in it and laid him in the reeds by the river's bank, back up to the fourth. And his sister stood afar off to know what would be done to him, catching up. Then the fifth verse. Then the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river. And her maidens walked along the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her maids to get it. This journey. Now, just notice how a time to be born in the river, and she happened to come take a bath at that time. And it's saying this for us, brother. We should learn and trust God to know that he's got everything prepared. He's got everything laid out. She didn't just happen to come down by the river at that time. God already had it ordained. So on this journey, many times we think that something is about to go astray, and sometimes we get so bent out of shape and so upset and can't sleep at night concerning other people's journey. But the fact of it is, God's got their journey covered like he's got our journey covered. The mother put the child in the river. That was a part of her journey. The child's journey was to go down the river. Now, it was up to God to have things in place to take care of what was next. The mother couldn't go take care of anything after she put the child in the river. Many times on our journey, we're trying to control our journey and somebody else's journey versus doing what God would have for us to do. And sometimes that's letting things go. Sometimes that's letting things go. And even with our children, letting them go so they can live their journey. They can fulfill their journey. They can't be you. They can't be you. They're not going to do everything you say. They're not going to do everything the way you want it. We didn't. And we still don't do everything God wants it. But he's still there with us along this journey. He is still there with us along this journey. That's why now I tell people, there's no need of beating up on yourself all the time about everything. When God already knew you would be put in the river, but he already have somebody to help you along the way. And he's always had someone to help us along the way. But she came down and bathed, and she saw they saw it in the reeds, and she sent her maids to get it. The sixth verse, and when she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby wept. So she had compassion on him and said, "This is one of the Hebrew children." She had compassion. She had compassion. She had compassion on a child she knew was a Hebrew. A child that her father then gave the command to kill all the male children. And yet she saw him and had compassion. And what I want us to understand, please, is that the depths of God's love and God's care, nothing is just happening by just to happen, that God has everything in complete and total order. Everything. And this journey that we're on have a beginning and it has an end. And we can enjoy it or we cannot enjoy it. We can struggle the whole time, or we can learn to let go and let God. We can trust God and know that everything's going to be okay. And again, not be trying to, it's like people look at the country and the world and be, oh, this is going on, that's going on. And I tell people, you better enjoy your life, because God said he'll be with us in the midst of. He's never told us that we would control the world. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world and all they that dwell therein. That God owns everything. He owns everything, and he has everything under control. She had compassion on this child, a male child at that was a Hebrew. The 7th verse, then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. So the maiden went and called the child's mother. Then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages. Now, the fact of it is, look at, they're talking about this journey now. The fact that the daughter watched and the child ended up going back to the mother to nurse, and you think about it, Pharaoh's daughter, the little girl said, want me to find somebody to nurse the child? Okay, there had to be a female that was lactating in order to have milk to feed the child. Pharaoh's daughter never asked, well, what happened to this woman's child that you bring in to feed this child? And just showing you on this journey how particular God is. All of us, when we look back at our lives, no matter good, the bad, the ugly, whatever, God still had the puzzle pieces to fit together. Still have had the puzzle pieces to fit together. So when we look back, all the pieces fit together. It may not fit the way you wanted it to all the time, but it fits together. But we have an issue looking ahead and trusting and believing God that all the pieces will fit together as we continue. Because no matter what, the end date will come. And if we could escape anything, if we could change anything, it would be the end date. The thing that we cannot change as we travel on this journey. The more we realize that it's a journey and that God is in control, especially as Christians, then the more we should be able to relax. When you went somewhere as a child with your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle, when you went somewhere with them as a child, you was excited about going. You weren't worried about the route. You wasn't worried about the price of gas. You wasn't worried about any of that. You enjoyed the journey. Are we there yet? As some of the comedians could say. Looking out the window, enjoying the scenery, and the time you're going to have when you get to the beach or when you get to grandmama's house, you were anticipating and happy along the journey. Many times now the issue is we're not enjoying the journey. We're not enjoying the journey because we've gotten grown now and we know all the obstacles in the world, and we've read a little of the word, and now we know so much that God needs us to do everything, that we can't just relax with the Father, knowing that the Father has it under control. He knows where he's going. He knows how to drive the car. He knows every obstacle that's along the way. We're busy now telling and saying what should be, and oh, like God's just going to take this one out or take that one out, and God's ready to take the world out now because of sin. Well, he didn't take it out before we got here, and it was just as sinful. It was just as sinful when our parents was raising us and we was having fun and enjoying life. There is nothing new under the sun. Nothing new. Everything that's going on now was already going on then. But we get older and we can't enjoy the journey and let God lead us. Do what we're supposed to do in the sight of the Lord and enjoy this journey like we should. Because now we see all the obstacles and we need to fix everything and fix everybody. And most of the time, the issue still comes back on God still fixing us. God's still working on us. But here it is, she got the child, 8th verse, and Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. So the maiden went and called the child's mother. Then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages. So the woman took the child and nursed him. And I look at the fact that she got paid for being a mother to her own child. So just showing you how long this journey, God knows how to prepare and work things out. We don't have to work as hard as we work, y'all. We don't have to work as hard as we work. We worry over stuff. You can't, the Bible says you can't change one strand of your head black or white. But think about how much we worry about stuff. How much we worry about stuff for tomorrow. And stuff that don't really add up to much of anything. And worrying about so much about the other people's lives. When the fact of it is, God has their life just like you have your life. Because this is an awesome journey. We're blessed. We are blessed. The 10th verse, and the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. So she called his name Moses, saying, because I drew him out of the water. Now we're talking about this journey. We're looking at Moses' journey and compare, just reminding us that we have a journey. Moses was born a Hebrew. Moses was adopted by Pharaoh's daughter. Moses was adopted by a whole different group of people. He was not only adopted by a different group of people, and now this is, keep in mind, this is somebody God has already preordained that would be the one to lead his people out of Egypt. But he's raised by Pharaoh's daughter in the mansion, raised by Pharaoh's daughter in the mansion. God didn't even allow his people to name him. Now, now you got to hear me. God allowed Pharaoh's daughter to name the leader that he was going to raise to bring his children out from under Pharaoh. Come on now, we got to see things a little bigger and a little deeper. That we're so quick to, oh, that ain't God, and oh, this and that, and on, the devil, everything. God knows what he's doing down to the very T. He allowed Pharaoh's daughter to name his leader. We're busy trying to watch, and that can't be God. No, they can't be. God can't use them. No, this, and going on and on and on and on. And the fact of it is, everybody's journey is their journey. It's their journey. They've got to take the twists and turns and bends, the ups and downs. They've got to live their own journey. We have to live our own journey. We're going to have some ups and downs. We're going to have some situations we don't understand. I tell people now, quit racking your brain like you have to know everything. Just trust God and keep living. If you don't have the answer, it's okay. Go on to bed, get some rest. Keep trusting God, because God wants us to follow him and have faith in him even when we don't understand. Because he's not going to allow you to understand everything. The Bible says now we see dimly. Amen. Now we see dimly. We don't know everything right now. God's ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. As high as the east is from as far as the east is from the west. And I listen to some Christians, sometimes they feel like they got the answer to everything. To everything. I don't have to have the answer to everything. I trust God. I trust God. I go on to bed. I learn what I can learn, and I trust God, because people that came before me didn't learn everything. Moses and all of them didn't learn everything, and they were face to face with God and still did not learn everything. But they still traveled this journey, allowed God to use them, and they went through whatever they had to go through, and they still had to hopefully enjoy their journey. Pharaoh was raised in the palace. Pharaoh's daughter named him. And then if you look at the 11th verse there, goes a little further. Now it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out to his brethren and looked at their burdens. And he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his brethren. Talking about the journey. Now that was part of his journey. He went out and saw something he didn't like. And what did he do? So he looked this way and that way, just like we do. Looked this way and that way, and when he saw no one looking, when he saw nobody looking, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. Moses was a murderer. And I'm saying this because, see, on our journey, we have some hiccups, and we say it's okay, God forgive us, and we go on. But we look over at somebody else's journey, and 10 years later, we're still bringing up what they did back when, who they used to be, as if God can't use them now. But Moses was a murderer. He killed someone. Talking about this journey, the one God's going to use to lead his people out. Don't let nobody try to discredit you and what God can do through your life based on your ups and your downs, based on your mistakes. Based on it, Moses, he saw it and he felt sorry for them, and he killed them. There's situations in our life where we don't feel sorry for people and we done gave them money when we shouldn't have. Then let them get too close sometime when we shouldn't have. We done hurt people sometime when we shouldn't have, because they weren't doing something our way. our way, brother, because they hurt one of our loved ones. They said something to our son, our daughter, and we'd done something. We'd killed them with our tongue, as if God didn't know how to handle his business. Moses killed he killed that Egyptian, not realizing that wasn't the problem. He's called to lead them out. He wasn't called to change all those people. He wasn't called to change all those people. Many times we're combative and trying to fight people, even in this country. The Bible said that we were ambassadors. We're pilgrims traveling through the land. We're to tell people about Christ and keep it moving. Love on people and keep it moving. Encourage them and keep it moving. So Moses ended up killing a man, and then here's what. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 Hebrew men were fighting, and he said to the one who did the wrong, "Why are you striking your companion? Why are you doing that?" And we say the same thing. Why are you treating them like that? And we're trying to we stick our nose in, trying to straighten things out. Then he said, "Who made you a prince and a judge over us?" And I remember growing up as kids and we was telling each other, who died and made you the boss? Who do you think you are? Do you intend to kill me as you killed the Egyptian? So now this is talking about a journey. Sometime on the journey, the people you're trying to help would be the people the people that would give you the most slack or put you down the most, and you praying for them the hardest, and they're talking about you the most, making you to be the worst thing it is, and your prayer is the one holding them together. So Moses feared and said, "Surely this thing is known." 15, when Pharaoh heard of this matter, he sought to kill Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Now, they're talking about the journey now, and this is Moses. Moses, born a Hebrew, adopted by Pharaoh's daughter, named by Pharaoh's daughter, raised in the palace, killed somebody, killed a man, and then now he's had to run. He's fled out in the wilderness. Now we're talking about a journey because, when we look at ourselves, many times we have a problem because our life, and we expected our life to be just an interstate, not a side road, definitely not a dirt road. We expect it to be an interstate, 4 lanes, straight ahead, no bumps, newly paved. And that's the way God was going to have it for us. Most of us that got saved, we thought that we was coming over here where howdy, every day will be Sunday and all this stuff, that we thought no issues, no troubles, smooth sailing, but it was not and it's not going to be. It was not and it's not going to be. Just as we can look at Moses' journey now, and we're going to continue his journey, but we could just as easily take Abraham, because he lied about Sarah being his wife, said it was his sister. We could just as easily look at David. David was the man after God's own heart. And see, the thing that I'm going to point out even later in this is on this journey. That's why you don't have to go on and on bothering people. And that's why you can enjoy life, because with each one of them, God dealt with it. We're going to see how God dealt with Moses. But each one of them, God dealt with it. David, the sword would never leave your house. But he was still a man after God's own heart. God still loved him dearly. But God dealt with it, and God deals with us, and God deals with other people on this particular journey. On this journey, God deals with it. And the thing of it is, when God deals with it, as we'll see when we get on even further with Moses, that God deals with it, and when God deals with it, it doesn't matter what anybody else do. People can pray all night long. When God deals with us on this journey, and when we do when we make mistakes or mess up on the journey, and especially intentionally. Now here it is. Let's go a little further. Exodus, the 3rd chapter and the 2nd verse. Exodus, the 3rd chapter and the 2nd verse. Moses out there now with his his father-in-law, Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. Let's see, that's verse 1. He led the flock, and now the second verse. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. So he looked, and behold, the bush was burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. But the bush was not consumed. Now it goes on in the way he, talked with God. Here's the thing with that. Moses had to have an experience, an encounter, a talk with God. On this journey, I don't care how much you preach to people. I don't care how much you pray for people. I don't care how much you want this and that for people. Everybody have to have their own experience. Everybody is going to have their own experience with God. I tell people when they're asking this and that and stuff concerning God, I don't have to try to prove God is real. If you want to know if God is real, go pray and ask him. God have no problem answering us. No problem. God has no problem showing us who he is. Moses had to have an experience with God for himself. And every one of us is going to have our own experience with God. No matter what I tell you, until you have your own experience with God, you won't fully understand what I'm talking about. I didn't until I had my own experience with God. So now you can't make me doubt him because I know too much about it. I felt his presence. I've been in his presence. He wake me up at night and talk to me. I can go down on my knees praying and I know he's listening to me. I can go through something and know and feel his presence around me for myself, not because of what somebody else said. If you're having an issue with God, it may be because you haven't had your own experience with God. Everybody have to have their own experience with God. Isaiah 6:1. In Isaiah 6:1, Isaiah said that in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord. I saw the Lord, and it goes on into high and lifted up, but he had to have his own personal experience, and it was in the year King Uzziah died. Everybody need to be able to say that I had an experience with God. This is when my life changed. When I didn't go by what mama said and daddy said. They had told me about God. They took me to Sunday school. They took me to church, but it wasn't until I had my personal experience with God that now I know that God is real. And that God is beside me, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me that I'm his own. And when I go through some trouble, he said he would be there with me. And now I'm not just going by what somebody else said in the Bible. I'm living my life because he's done it for me. Moses had an experience with God for himself. Now on his journey, he had done some things before he got there. But God put him in the wilderness out here, and it changed his life completely, a different setting. Now, because he was in the city. He was in the city. Some of us, God had to move us from the comforts of mama house. Some of us, God had to move us from the comforts of a really nice this and that. Some of us, God had to put in some positions that we would take the time to slow down, that we might hear him and see him and understand him. So, and here's the thing I want to throw in there with that. Just as you had to do that, many times when it comes to other people and their journey is leading them to an experience with God. But sometimes we go broke. Sometimes we get almost insane. Drive ourselves insane. Over in somebody else's lane, trying to control their journey, trying to keep their journey from leading them to the wilderness, where God is trying to take them, that he might have a personal experience with them. And we're still in the way, using everything we have to try to keep them from going, try to block that road. But the fact of it is, just like you had to go down your roads, other people have to go down their roads. No matter what you do, it's going to still end up at that place. Even if it means that your son, your daughter, your sister, your brother, your family member, your friend, they may have to say, in the year that William died, I too saw the Lord. Don't let that be the testimony that you are so in the way that your journey is trying to take care of and control somebody else's journey out of the way in order for them to see God. Trying to be in between people and God. Trying to be God. God can handle it all. He can handle it all. The songwriter says if you have to reach way down, he can pick you up. God was able to meet us where he needed to meet us. So, and the thing of it is, they're no worse than we are. I remember my mama used to tell us, she didn't tell us to disrespect older people. She never told us to disrespect older people. But she did tell us don't pay some of it any attention what they said. She did, as far as them trying to criticize and telling my sisters, oh, the pants too tight, the dress too short, and on and on and on. She don't pay half of that stuff any attention. See, because they done did what y'all are doing and a whole lot more. So that didn't mean don't take no advice. But what it meant, don't let people criticize and put you down. And you just sit there and it's like, don't be disrespectful. But don't let people make themselves be better than you. I hope we as Christians, that after we done grew up in Sunday school and church and saw the way people treated us sometime and the way they commented and everything was bad and nothing we did was worth anything, trying to make us act their age. I hope we don't turn around and become older and turn around and try to do that to the young people, try to put them in the same bondage that people tried to put us in, where everything is wrong. Any way they dress is wrong. Any way they do their hair is wrong. A problem with everything because they're not you. They have their own journey. They have their own journey, and some of us didn't enjoy any of the journey anyway. I just say fuddy-duddy and too good for this and too good for that and didn't live life at all. Never done much of anything, and now want everybody else to do the same thing. Now that's your journey, and I'm not knocking it, but don't try to make everybody's journey be yours. And in fact, there's still time for us to enjoy our journey. I tell people all the time, do what you like doing. Go to the movies, go to do something, travel, find stuff you like doing on this journey, because there's a time when this journey will end. Moses had to have his own experience. Isaiah had to have his own experience. We all have to have our own experience with God on this journey. Recognize that. Some people, if we think some people on this journey, that's people I know and I love, and I realize they just haven't had their experience with God. It's all right. It's all right. They don't have to do everything right and everything. It's okay. They haven't had their experience. Their experience is just a little further down the road. My experience was at 17, but that's not everybody. That's not everybody. Some people 30, 40, 50, 60. I know some people that came to the Lord at 70, 80 years old. That's their journey. That's their journey. Everybody have to live their own journey. This is my journey. If nothing else you get from this, when life comes, things come up with people, tell them this is my journey. When they start, this is my journey. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. God saved you, and you will. Okay, he brought you through. Oh my God! I thank God he have my day ahead too. If he could save you, he could save me too. You didn't come in when other people told you to come in. We done did all that we could do, and you enjoyed it too. Enjoyed a whole lot of it. And now some of the problem is you miss it because you know, you knew the joy you had, and now you don't want them to have the joy. Some people some of the issues, some people get too old, they can't do what they used to do. Everybody didn't just come to the Lord, oh God, I surrender all, and here I am. Some God had to put in positions where there was no other way. No other way. And the thing of it is about this journey and our journeys is that God knows how to do that. Some people, they get a hangnail or something. Oh Lord, I'm sorry, I'm coming to you. Some a hangnail, they ain't thinking about nothing. Broke arm and I'm gonna go do what they're hobbling to go do what I want to do. Some get in a wheelchair, still trying to go. You see people on the street still out doing what they want to do in a wheelchair. So it takes God to know what position to get us into that he can have the burning bush experience with us. that he might be able to talk to us and we actually listen. Because he talked to us, but we're taking the time to listen. And all of us have to have that particular experience when we take the time to listen to God. Exodus, if you would now, Exodus, the 4th chapter. 4th chapter and 18th verse. 4 and 18. And it says, Moses, it's talking about the fact that Moses went back to Egypt to confront Pharaoh, and he led the children of Israel out of Egypt. But so Moses went and returned to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said to him, please let me go and return to my brethren who are in Egypt and see whether they are still alive. And Jethro said to Moses, go in peace. Go in peace. So he went on back. Now the Lord said to Moses and Midian, go return to Egypt. Go return to Egypt. All the men who sought your life are dead. Then Moses took his wife and his sons and set them on a donkey and returned to the land of Egypt. And Moses took the rod of God in his hand. Now, then Moses took the rod of God, gone back to Egypt, and we know about the plagues. And that's not the point here. It's just that was a part of his journey. That was a part of his journey. When we read the stories in the Bible, that's their journey. Don't make yourself be somebody else. You have a journey. You don't have no donkeys, no camels, you're not traveling on a dusty road. You're not paying tithes to chickens and cows and pigs. So that's their journey. Your journey, you pay tithes with money. Your journey, you get in your car and go where God leads you to go. Your journey, you can get on a plane and go where God would have for you to go. It's living out your journey and realizing that was Moses' journey. He went back to the place he left that he had to flee from. And sometime on our journey, God take us back. Take us back to where we started from. Take us back to complete what he wanted to do in us. But see, the thing of it is, he had to go out there to get to know who God was. And sometimes we want people to do stuff that they're not equipped to do yet. They haven't had enough time with God. They haven't had that experience with God. And sometimes that's what messes up the churches. People get saved and we start, do this and do that. They haven't had the experience with God that they need, so that they're fully persuaded of who God is. Because when trouble comes, and it will, you've got to know that that God's going to be with me. And we've got to know God's going to be with us, even to the point with like Daniel and Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego, that we've got to know God enough that when the fiery times come, when the loud of the terrifying situations come, that I'm going to still continue on this journey. O King, live forever. But be it known, I'm not going to bow down. You can throw me in the fire, you can throw me in the den with the lions, but I trust God enough now in my life that I'll go on in with the lions, I'll go on in the fire. If I perish, as Esther said, let me perish. But I'm going to see the King. I'm going to keep going forward ahead on this journey because I've had enough experiences now. I've gone through enough trouble now. I've had enough headaches. I've had enough pain. I've had to pray all night enough that God have allowed me to know who he really is, and that he won't leave me nor will he forsake me, that he will be with me always. I know that now, so I can continue straight ahead. I know that it's okay now as a preacher to keep doing what God would have for me to do. I know as a pastor to keep pastoring. It doesn't matter about the ups and downs in life and people are talking about you and all of that. Keep doing what God would have you to do, because it's not the first time, but it's not the last time. Your journey is your journey. Don't let nobody else distract you from your journey. Don't let nobody else cause you to take a side road that you hadn't planned on taking because they don't like something about you. Trust God anyhow. Trust God anyhow. Your life may not be like somebody else's right now, but if you love God and trust in God, keep trusting him, keep loving him, and keep moving ahead in life on this journey. Keep moving ahead in life on this journey. Moses went back. I just want to point out a couple more things, and we ended. Moses went back, and Moses led the people out in Exodus, the 17th chapter. If you want to jot it down, Exodus 17. Moses obeyed God. We'll go there, and then what we'll do, we'll go there, and then we'll just finish it next week. Won't go on and on. We'll finish it next week. This is my journey. You don't want to miss the last of it, but it's Exodus, the 17th chapter. We'll go on there for now. Exodus, the 17th chapter, verses 5 and 6. Exodus, the 17th chapter, verse 5 and 6. And the Lord said to Moses, go on before the people and take with you some of the elders of Israel. Also take in your hand your rod with which you struck the river, and go. The same rod you struck, you held up, and the river parted, and take that rod with you. Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock in Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. Moses did as God told him to do, and he struck the rock and the water came out. That time Moses obeyed God. And we're talking about the journey now. We're talking about the journey and making it practical. Because see, Moses did what God say do there. But later we're going to read where Moses didn't do it the way God said do it. But God still took care of Moses. But God had some consequences. God has some consequences. So the issue is that God knows how to deal with us on this journey. I don't want to rush on through it. So we're going to close it out there and finish it up next week. This is my journey. This is my journey. So we're ending right here where Moses did what God had for him to do. And how wonderful it is when we've done what God told us to do. We're excited about the fact when we've done what God have told us to do. But in this life, all of us can look back and see there's times when we did what we should have done, and there's times when we didn't do what we should do. But that God still handles it. And we have to know that God is able to handle us on this journey. He's able to handle us on this journey. The songwriter said, do not be dismayed. Whatever betides you, that God will take care of you. That God will take care of you. God will take care of you. Another songwriter said about Jesus will fix it after a while. That we go through some things, but God knows how to fix it. This is your journey. This is your journey. Not somebody else's. Not somebody else's. Get that? It's your journey. It's your life. It's your turn, my turn, to do what God would have us to do as we travel down here. Everything about being down here, God wants to praise him and worship him. But God don't mind you enjoying your house, enjoying your car. That along with this journey, the benefits that God give us. But this is your journey. This is your journey to be continued. This is your journey. To God be the glory. May he continue to look upon you and smile upon you and keep you from now until. We thank God for you, and we thank God for all that are present here. May God continue to bless you and keep you is my prayer. To God be the glory for all that he has done, all that he's doing, and all that he is going to do.